I took my husband's phone to call a client and accidentally saw his correspondence with my son-in-law. When I read the messages about their plans, I couldn't believe my eyes. 37 years of marriage, trust, and family happiness. It was all a lie. Then I realized that I wouldn't let it go and started planning. The charger cord lay tangled on the floor like a dead snake. My hands shook as I searched through every drawer, every pocket, knowing that in 15 minutes, the biggest deal of my career would slip away. "Mary, what's wrong?" My husband appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. "Phone's dead. Can't find the charger anywhere?" I grabbed cushions from the couch, tossing them aside. "Johnson's calling at 8 sharp about the Madison Avenue property." Without hesitation, he handed me his phone. "Use mine, honey. Password's your birthday." Relief flooded through me. After 37 years of marriage, my husband still saved the day. "You're a lifesaver." He kissed my cheek and headed toward the kitchen. "I'll finish dinner while you handle business." The phone felt warm in my palm. Face recognition unlocked it instantly. I dialed Johnson's number, then froze. A notification had just appeared at the top of the screen. "Dylan, 7:32 p.m. He'll never find out. Documents almost ready." My son-in-law's name stared back at me. The message preview showed just enough to make my stomach clench. I should scroll past it. Respect privacy. Make the call. Instead, I tapped the message. The conversation thread opened like a wound. 3 days of exchanges between my husband and my daughter's husband. My eyes scanned downward, each message a knife twist. "Husband, Monday, 3:15 p.m. Are you sure about this? What if Mary suspects something?" "Husband, Monday, 3:15 p.m. Are you sure about this? What if Mary suspects something?" "Dylan, Monday, 3:18 p.m. Trust me, I've handled dozens of these cases. She won't see it coming." "Husband, Monday, 8:22 p.m. The timing has to be perfect after the Madison deal closes." "Dylan, Tuesday, 11:45 a.m., 60-40 split, just like we discussed. You get the house, retirement accounts. I get my fee plus the business assets through Ruby." "Husband, Tuesday, 2:13 p.m. Ruby doesn't know anything." "Dylan, Tuesday, 2:15 p.m. Dylan, today, 2:30 p.m. Nothing. She thinks I'm working late on a corporate merger." "Husband, today, 4:30 p.m. I feel terrible lying to her." "Dylan, today, 4:33 p.m. It's better this way. Clean break. No messy emotions." "Husband, today, 7:28 p.m. When do I file?" "Dylan, today, 7:31 p.m. In a month, I'll have everything ready." The phone trembled in my grip. 37 years of marriage. 37 years of building a life together, raising Ruby, creating something meaningful. And he was plotting with our son-in-law to destroy it all. Footsteps echoed from the kitchen, my husband returning. I closed the message thread with fumbling fingers, my heart hammering against my ribs. The screen returned to the home page just as he rounded the corner. "How's it going? Did you reach him?" I stared at his face. Same green eyes I had fallen in love with in college. Same smile that had comforted me through my father's death. Celebrated every business success. Kissed our daughter goodnight for 18 years. Not yet. My voice sounded normal somehow. Just dialing now. Johnson's voice crackled through the speaker. "Mary, been waiting for your call. Madison Avenue, are we moving forward?" My husband bustled around the kitchen, the picture of domestic contentment. How many times had I watched this exact scene, my husband preparing dinner while I handled business? The foundation of our life together. "Absolutely," I managed. "Terms look good. We'll close within 30 days. "Excellent. My client's eager to finalize. Papers should be ready by Friday." Every word felt like speaking underwater. The conversation about property transfers and closing dates took on sinister new meaning. My husband wanted to wait until after this deal closed. Smart move. Maximize the assets before the divorce filing. Perfect. "I'll have my attorney review everything." The irony wasn't lost on me. The attorney I'd need would be fighting against my own son-in-law. Talk Friday, then. Good doing business, Mary. I ended the call and handed the phone back to my husband. Thank you, honey. Really saved me there. He squeezed my shoulder. You look pale. Everything all right? Just tired. Lot of work lately. The lie came easily. 37 years of marriage had taught me to read his expressions, but apparently I'd missed the most important ones. We moved to the dining room. My husband had set the table with our good china, a wedding gift from his mother. Crystal glasses caught the chandelier light. Everything perfect, beautiful, false. So, how was your day? I asked, cutting into the roast beef. Quiet. Did some shopping. Called my sister. Another lie. I found myself studying his face, searching for tells I'd missed before. The slight pause before mentioning his sister. The way he wouldn't quite meet my eyes when discussing his afternoon. How many times had he lied about visiting his sister? Those weekend trips that became more frequent last month. The yoga classes that ended late with no exercise glow. New jewelry from clearance sales that looked expensive to my trained eye. Ruby called this afternoon. My husband continued. Sean's working on some big corporate case. Long hours. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Really? What kind of case? He didn't say. You know how secretive lawyers can be about client confidentiality. I nodded, playing the understanding mother-in-law, while fury built in my chest. Dylan wasn't working on a corporate case. He was orchestrating the destruction of my family, using my own daughter as cover. My husband reached across the table and touched my hand. You're quiet tonight. His wedding ring caught the light. Same ring he'd placed on my finger in 1980. We'd promised to love, honor, cherish, till death do us part, not till greed do us part. Just thinking about the Madison deal, I said. Big opportunity. I'm proud of you. 63 years old and still making the biggest deals of your career. The praise felt like acid. He was proud of my success because it meant more money for him to steal. Later that night, I lay in bed listening to my husband's steady breathing beside me. 37 years of sharing this bed, this room, this life. In the darkness, pieces clicked together, cold kisses that had become dutiful pecks, phone calls that ended when I entered the room, new interest in our financial documents and retirement planning. The signs had been there. I'd been too trusting, too focused on work, too comfortable in my assumptions. But now I knew, and I needed an ally. 2 weeks of sleepless nights had given me time to plan. The Central Park Cafe sat half empty on a Wednesday afternoon, lunch crowd mostly gone. I'd chosen a corner booth back to the wall, clear view of the entrance. Ruby pushed through the door at exactly 1 o'clock, her teacher's punctuality showing. She spotted me immediately and smiled, the same bright expression she'd worn as a little girl. Mom, so good to see you. She slid into the booth across from me. Been too long since Justice had lunch. Too long, I agreed, trying to match her enthusiasm while my stomach churned. The waitress took our orders. Ruby chatted about her students, a difficult parent conference, winter break plans, normal daughter conversation. I let her talk, studying her face for any sign she knew about Dylan's betrayal. Nothing. Complete innocence. Ruby, has Dylan been acting differently lately? Her fork paused over her salad. Differently how? Working late more often, secretive about cases. He's working on something big, says it's corporate stuff, very confidential. She shrugged. You know how lawyers are about client privilege. The same story my husband had fed me. My son-in-law was thorough. I'd give him that. Sweetheart, what I'm about to tell you will change everything. I pulled out my phone. I need you to trust me completely. Her smile faded. Mom, you're scaring me. That night, I borrowed Dad's phone for the Johnson call. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. I showed her Dylan's messages, watched her face transform from confusion to disbelief to something harder. This can't be real. Her voice barely whispered. Dad would never. And Dylan? I know it's hard to accept. Ruby's hands shook as she reread the conversation. 60-40 split. Business assets through me. Her teacher's mind was processing fast. They're using me. Dylan's been planning to steal from you while I cooked his dinner and believed his lies. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know how much you trusted him. All those late nights, all those confidential cases. Anger crept into her voice. He's been planning to steal from you while I cooked his dinner and believed his lies. The question is, what do we do about it? Ruby looked up from the phone, and I saw steel in her expression I'd never noticed before. We stop them. It won't be easy. Dylan knows the law. Dad's been planning this for months. Then we plan better. She leaned forward. What do you need me to do? Observe Dylan without letting him know you've discovered anything. Document what you can. I need evidence beyond these messages. What about Dad? I'll handle your father. But Ruby, this has to stay between us. No one else can know. She nodded firmly. When do we start? You started the moment you believed me instead of defending them. Ruby reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, Mom, for what they're doing, for what Dylan. Her voice caught. I married him because I thought he was honorable. You couldn't have known. They fooled both of us. Not anymore. Ruby straightened her shoulders. So, what's our timeline? They're aiming to file by the end of the month, I told her. That means we've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks to collect proof and prepare our move. 2 weeks to protect everything I built and to remind them exactly who they're dealing with. For the first time since that dreadful night, I looked at my daughter and felt something real. Warmth instead of fear. Ruby, I said quietly, whatever happens between your father and me, you are still the greatest thing I've ever done in this life. Her eyes shimmered, though her voice stayed firm. We'll win, Mom. They chose the wrong family to cross. She was the first to leave, duty as a teacher pulling her back to class. I sat there watching her go, her back straight, every step radiating resolve. My little girl was no longer little. She had become a woman of iron will. Now it was my turn to uncover how deep this betrayal truly went. A week later, I found myself in the stark office of Chen Investigations, business cards scattered across Thomas Chen's polished desk. The investigators leafed through my notes with cool professionalism. Cases like this take time and patience, Mrs. Ellis, Chen said evenly. Chen tapped his fingers lightly on a manila folder. Your husband seems very sure of himself. That kind of confidence usually leads to mistakes. I'll need photographs, a full record of everything, I said, leaning closer. Money isn't a concern. He nodded. From what I see in these credit card statements, he favors spots in Manhattan. The Plaza Hotel shows up often. My stomach tightened into a knot. How often? I asked. Twice a week, steady for the last 2 months. Always on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, Chen replied. I thought back. Those were the hours I buried myself in property reports, never suspecting a thing. What else? Chen slid another set of papers across the desk. Itemized bills for spa treatments, jewelry, dinners for 2 at private restaurants. Then he hesitated. Mrs. Dot. Mrs. Ellis, are you ready for what we may uncover? Chen asked. I'm ready to defend what I've built, I replied firmly. 3 days of surveillance confirmed what I dreaded most. The photos arrived through Chen's secure email. My husband stepping into the plaza with a younger woman, their fingers laced together. Her face was familiar, the fitness instructor from his yoga studio. 6'2", perfectly sculpted, young enough to be my son, Mike Rodriguez. I dug into his background obsessively. 28 years old, employed at a luxury Manhattan fitness center, cruising around in a BMW I was certain my husband had paid for with my credit cards. My phone buzzed, a message from Ruby checking in from Dylan's office. Mom, I dropped off his lunch and saw the filing papers. Her voice quivered ever so slightly. The property division papers spelled it out clearly. They wanted nearly everything: the business, the retirement funds, even my car collection. Only the house was left untouched. "Anything else?" I asked. Ruby hesitated. "Notes in Dylan's own handwriting. They're set to file on March 30th, right after your Madison Avenue deal wraps." A clever strategy: wait until my value peaked, then strike for the greatest damage. "Ruby, be careful," I warned. "Don't let him realize you're on to him." "Too late for that. I already despise him," I muttered. 4 more days of surveillance rolled in. Chen's investigators delivered photo after photo: my husband and Mike at candlelit dinners, weekend trips up to Connecticut, shopping sprees where he showered Mike with expensive gifts, paid for with my money. The financial records revealed over $3,000 each month in mysterious charges, all fueling his affair. I laid the photographs across my desk like a general arranging battle plans, my husband laughing with his lover, kissing outside Tiffany's, slipping hand in hand into hotel rooms. 37 years of marriage reduced to manila folders and evidence. A knock at the door. "Mrs. Ellis, your husband called. He'll be home late tonight. Another yoga class." "Thank you, Helen," I said evenly. Yoga session? The thought almost made me laugh at how ridiculous it sounded. Most likely my husband was arranging his next secret meeting while I sat here cataloging every betrayal. But knowledge is power, and power was exactly what I needed to bring both of them down. Chen arrived in person with the final surveillance report. "Everything you asked for, Mrs. Ellis. Timestamps, addresses, financial records, every detail neatly documented. Your lawyer will have everything needed for court," Chen assured me. I placed the files into my office safe and phoned Ruby. "Time for another meeting. Central Park, same bench." "What did you uncover?" she asked. "More than I ever expected," I replied. Sunday afternoon arrived under heavy March clouds, the air thick with unspoken truths. I reached the park bench 15 minutes early, manila folders hidden beneath my coat. Ruby crossed the lawn with determined steps, her teacher's bag hanging from one shoulder. "Mom." She wrapped her arms around me, and I could feel the tension in her body. "This feels like planning a war, because that's exactly what we're doing." We settled onto the bench as families wandered by, children laughing, couples walking hand in hand, life going on as if the world weren't about to shatter for us. Ordinary people walked by, living honest lives, unaware that 2 members of my own family were plotting its destruction. "What did you find on Dylan?" I asked. Ruby reached into her bag and pulled out a stack of photocopied papers. "It's the full asset division plan. He's detailed everything, down to the furniture in your office." Her voice shook with restrained fury. "They're leaving you the house and a single car. Everything else is divided between Dad and Dylan's legal costs." I looked over the documents. 37 years of building a life, of creating security and wealth, reduced to cold line items written in my son-in-law's hand. Business properties, investment portfolios, even my husband's jewelry, all listed for redistribution. "There's more," Ruby said, pointing to Dylan's neat handwriting in the margins. "The timeline notes show they've been working on this for 6 months, long before you saw those texts." 6 months. While I'd been applauding Dylan's career and trusting his legal counsel, he'd been quietly plotting my financial ruin. "Ruby," I said slowly, "what I'm about to show you, it's about your father." I hesitated. "What I'm about to show you will hurt." Ruby shook her head. "After learning what Dylan's done, I can face anything." I slid Chen's surveillance photos across to her and watched as my daughter's expression shifted. Shock, disbelief, then pain, as she absorbed image after image of her father with another woman. Hotel entrances, candlelit dinners, shopping trips. Ruby's hands trembled. "Who is he?" Ruby whispered. "Mike Rodriguez," I answered. "The trainer from his so-called yoga studio. He's been lying about everything." Ruby's eyes locked on a photo of my husband kissing his lover outside Cartier. Lying to you, to me, to everyone, for months, while scheming to grab half of what you've built, just to start a new life with him. Ruby placed the photographs gently on the bench. Mom, I need to tell you something about my marriage to Dylan. What is it? It's over. After seeing his greed, the way he betrayed you, and the lies he fed me. She straightened her shoulders. I can't stay married to a man capable of this. Pride mingled with worry in my chest. Are you sure? Divorce isn't simple. Neither is staying with someone who sees family as enemies to conquer, she replied firmly. Ruby stacked Dylan's papers into her bag. Besides, we've got bigger priorities, taking them down before they take you down. We spent nearly an hour mapping out our plan. Ruby would keep collecting intel while pretending nothing had changed. I would continue building the financial record and line up legal countermeasures. There's one more thing, I said quietly. I don't want to face them separately. I want them both in the same room when I confront them. Let's make sure they know exactly what we've uncovered. When? Ruby asked. This weekend, at family dinner. I'll invite Dylan and I'll tell your father it's about household finances. A grim smile tugged at my lips. They'll see it as the perfect chance to tighten their grip on me. Ruby chuckled, a sound I hadn't heard from her in weeks. They have no idea what's waiting for them. No doubts? I asked. Ruby stood, gathering the stack of evidence. Mom, when this is finished, when we win, what becomes of our family? We'll rebuild, I told her. This time stronger, this time honest. I watched as Ruby walked away, her steps steady and full of resolve. My daughter had uncovered a strength she hadn't realized she carried. And soon, my husband and Dylan would learn just how dangerous that strength could be. By Wednesday evening, I was at the kitchen table, papers spread out before me, credit card bills, bank statements, financial records. In the background, my husband hummed while fixing dinner, completely at ease, oblivious to the fact that I had spent the day sifting through proof of his betrayals. Daniel, I said evenly, lifting a handful of receipts from luxury spas and jewelry stores. I've been going over our expenses. Some of these charges look unusually high, I remarked. From the stove, my husband glanced back at me, spatula in hand. Explained $3,000 a month at Manhattan spas, $500 at Tiffany's just last week? His expression shifted, still calm on the surface, but with a trace of caution underneath. Honey, I'm just taking care of myself. Is that such a crime? I'm not saying it's wrong, I replied, keeping my tone even, puzzled, not accusatory. But don't you think expenses this large should be discussed first? I asked carefully. My husband turned from the stove completely, leaving dinner half prepared. Mary, are you saying I need your permission to spend money after 37 years of marriage? Don't I deserve nice things? Classic deflection. Twist reckless spending into a relationship issue, paint me as the unreasonable one for simply asking questions. Of course you deserve nice things, I answered evenly. I softened my tone, slipping into the role of the cautious, apologetic wife. I'm only trying to get a clearer picture of our budget, I said gently. You've never worried about money before, he countered, stepping closer and resting a hand on my shoulder. Are we in trouble financially? Should I be worried? Another perfect misdirection. Now he played the caring husband, acting as though his only concern was the family's well-being. I almost had to admire it, shameless, yes, but executed with precision. There are no money issues, I reassured him. The Madison deal alone will bring in $2 million. I caught the flicker in his eyes at the number. Maybe I'm just being overly cautious, I added. You push yourself too hard, that's the real problem. He kissed my cheek lightly. Maybe I should ease up on the spa visits. What we really need is more time together. A clever move. Offer to give up the little luxuries, all to divert attention and play the role of the selfless spouse making compromises. Don't change a thing, I said, gathering the receipts and feigning acceptance of his excuses. You're right. After all these years, You deserve to treat yourself. Thank you for understanding, he said, turning back to the stove as if the tension had vanished. Sometimes I think you forget I'm more than just your husband. I have needs, ambitions, dreams of my own. Dreams like draining my business accounts to build a new life with his 28-year-old fling. But I only nodded with a sympathetic smile. You're absolutely right. I get so buried in work that I lose sight of everything else. He smiled warmly, convinced he had steered the moment back under control. That's why I love you, Mary. You always know how to be reasonable. I watched him finish preparing dinner, struck by how effortlessly he could lie, how smoothly he could twist the conversation in his favor. 37 years of marriage, and only now was I seeing the real man I had married, the husband who could look me straight in the eye while quietly plotting my ruin. But the coming weekend, I had something far more elaborate planned. A family dinner that would show my husband his little act wasn't nearly as flawless as he believed. 3 weeks had passed since our quiet confrontation in the kitchen. I'd spent them tightening evidence and working closely with Ruby. Friday morning, I walked into our bedroom carrying his favorite French roast coffee with cream, just the way he'd loved it for decades. Darling, I brought you something. I set the mug on the nightstand. About last week's argument, I was too harsh. His eyes opened, instantly alert. Mary, you're too sweet. I hate us fighting over money. So do I sighed, playing the part of a contrite wife. You're right. After all these years, you deserve your pleasures. He smiled, the same charming grin I once fell for. I appreciate that. I sipped my own coffee, letting the idea slide in naturally. How about something special this weekend? Let's invite Ruby and Dylan, a family dinner, like old times. His face lit up immediately. Wonderful idea. It's been too long since we had a real gathering. Saturday evening? I asked. Perfect. I'll make Dylan's favorite, the herb-roasted chicken. He kissed my forehead. After he left for his routine, I called Ruby. Sweetheart, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Bring everything. She hesitated only a moment, then answered with quiet steel. As ready as I'll ever be. I have it all, documents, photos, financial records, and Dad doesn't suspect a thing. He thinks he's already won. Saturday evening arrived. The dining room glowed with candlelight, the table set with our finest china. I moved with calm precision, pouring wine as if nothing were unusual. Ruby and Dylan arrived right on time. My husband beamed, greeting them warmly. No one but Ruby and I knew this was not a dinner. It was an ambush. We sat. Dylan launched into talk of his latest case, his voice dripping with self-importance. My husband chimed in, asking leading questions, glancing at me to see if I followed their charade. I smiled politely, heart steady, waiting. The moment would come soon. Ruby cleared her throat. Actually, Mom asked us here for something important. My husband stiffened almost imperceptibly. Dylan frowned. What's this about? I rose slowly, sliding a thick envelope across the table. This is about truth. They exchanged uneasy glances. My husband reached for the envelope with forced calm. As he opened it, photographs spilled out. Him and Dylan's schemes, him and his lover, receipts, transfers, all laid bare. His face drained of color. Dylan swore under his breath. I folded my hands. For 37 years, I gave everything to this family. And this is how you repaid me. Tonight, the masks come off. My husband's hand trembled as he flipped through the photos. Mary, this isn't what it looks like. Ruby's laugh cut him off, sharp, bitter. It's exactly what it looks like. Betrayal, plain and simple. Dylan leaned back, jaw tight, trying to regain composure. You can't use this. None of it will hold in court. I met his gaze. On the contrary, Dylan, every receipt, every transfer, every photo was collected legally. Chen Investigations has already prepared the affidavit. Silence fell. My husband looked at Dylan for help, but found none. You planned to erase me, I said softly, my voice carrying more weight than any scream. But you forgot one thing. I watch, I listen, and I never forget. Ruby placed her hand over mine. Mom, they thought you were weak. Tonight, they finally see who you really are. Dylan slammed his fist on the table. This is extortion! No, I said calmly. This is revelation. And tomorrow my attorney will file motions to freeze every account you've tried to move. Your game is over. My husband's face crumpled, his mouth opening and closing with no words left to save him. The dining room, once warm with candlelight, now felt like a courtroom, and I was both witness and judge. Ruby leaned forward, her voice steady. You tried to ruin her, Dad, and you dragged me into it through Dylan. But tonight, it all ends. Dylan's face darkened. You think you can just walk into court and win? I'll bury you in motions and delays? I rose from my chair, my hands resting firmly on the table. Do whatever you like, Dylan, but every stall tactic only exposes you further. I've already filed preliminary motions. By Monday, a judge will know everything. My husband's shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of him. He whispered, Mary, please, we can fix this. I shook my head slowly. Number you made your choice when you betrayed me. 37 years, and you threw it all away for greed. I gathered the evidence back into its envelope, my voice like steel. This marriage is over. And when the dust settles, you'll both realize you didn't just underestimate me, you unleashed me. The room was silent except for the ticking of the chandelier clock. Dylan stared at the evidence scattered across the table, his jaw clenched, calculating his next move. My husband sat slumped in his chair, face pale, eyes fixed on the glass of wine before him, as though it might offer escape. I pushed my chair back slowly, the scrape of wood against tile cutting through the silence like a verdict. Enjoy your meal, I said coldly. It's the last dinner we'll ever share as a family. Ruby stood with me, gathering her coat. She didn't look at Dylan, didn't look at her father. Her loyalty was clear. As we walked out together, I felt the weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. Behind us, voices rose, accusations, blame, desperation. But that was their storm to drown in. I had already stepped free. The following week, I walked into my attorney's office carrying a single leather folder. Inside were the photographs, the receipts, the statements, 37 years of loyalty betrayed, cataloged and ready for court. Mrs. Ellis, my lawyer said, scanning the evidence, with this, they don't stand a chance. We'll freeze the accounts, secure the business, and the court will see the betrayal for what it is. For the first time in decades, I wasn't the quiet wife in the background. I was the one at the center of the storm, dictating the terms. As I signed the documents, I felt no hesitation. My husband had gambled with my life, and Dylan thought he could rewrite my future. They were both about to learn. Mary Ellis doesn't lose. Justice wasn't abstract anymore. It had a face, a voice, and a name. Mine. The gavel struck in the courtroom, sealing the judgment. Assets secured, accounts frozen, their schemes dismantled piece by piece. My husband sat across the aisle, hollow-eyed. Dylan muttered furiously to his lawyer, but it was useless. The truth was written too clearly in every document, every photo. I stepped out into the crisp spring air, Ruby at my side. For the first time in months, sunlight didn't feel like a lie. Betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it also rebuilt me into someone stronger, sharper, untouchable. So let the world remember this. Never underestimate an old woman who has nothing left to lose. Because she is no one's burden, she is the reckoning.